MasterChef has seen some wild moments, but these? They're on a whole other level. From bizarre decisions to total kitchen chaos, get ready for the most ridiculous moments ever. That's right, I'm talking about world-class Chef Ramsay, and you won't believe what he said. In episode 10 of season 6, Tommy made a major comeback with his elimination challenge dish. It was so good, it left Graham absolutely speechless. Then came Chef Ramsay. One bite, and he was blown away. What did he say? Get ready for this.
It tastes authentic, it looks good. Focus on the food, because when you cook like this, you're a dream.
Oh, the judges didn't just love it, they practically wanted to frame it. But Chef Ramsay, he got so swept up in his feelings, he said something so shocking it vacuumed the noise right out of the room. The kitchen? Quiet as a library during finals week. Wait, what? Chef Ramsay's face turned redder than a raw steak left out too long, and in that split second of realization, it hit him. He'd basically just confessed his undying love to a contestant, and that too, Tommy. The kitchen went absolutely ballistic over this, and Tommy, he stood there glowing like a freshly wed bride at the altar. Meanwhile, Chef Ramsay's face, pure gold, equal parts horror and regret. And finally, Chef Ramsay managed to pull himself together and said what he actually meant to say. Trust me, hearing it will be the relief you didn't know you needed. But Tommy? Oh, there was no talking him down now. The guy was already picking out wedding venues. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this dish became the crown jewel of his restaurant because he was absolutely floating on cloud 9. Chef Ramsay couldn't stop blushing, and after what Tommy said next, oh, even you won't be able to hold back. Get ready for a laugh out loud moment that left the whole kitchen in stitches.
Gordon Ramsay, you are such a bad boy.
And now, brace yourselves, what's coming next isn't for the faint of heart. Some might find it offensive, but for others, it was the ultimate rivalry showdown, leaving us all in stitches and begging for more. In episode 18 of season 8, Jeff and Dino found themselves in the elimination round. While Dino's dish was getting rave reviews, Jeff? Oh, he committed a culinary crime serving raw chicken. And to make it worse, he had the audacity to claim it was intended. That's when Dino couldn't resist throwing a little jab. Oh, Dino, master of the perfect burn. He knew exactly how to push Jeff's buttons. Of course, Jeff wasn't in the mood for jokes, especially after Joe tossed his dish in the bin, and so Jeff, he didn't back off. What he said next, let's just say it was a punch below the belt.
Go make a spaghetti and meatball.
Ouch, that was a serious low blow, but let's be real, Jeff's delivery was so on point it almost made you chuckle. And Dino, yeah, even his hair wasn't offended. This guy was cold as ice. He wasn't about to back down. What he said next? Oh, it was the definition of a total badass move.
We're making a spaghetti meatball for your lady tonight. Yourself.
This was getting wild, and the contestants had no idea whose side to take. But one thing was for sure, no one could stop laughing. The tension was thick, but the humor was off the charts. And just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, Jeff came back with an even lower blow, like whatever's beneath the belt.
Should they make the $250,000 up to your therapist or to you?
Oops, that was definitely crossing the line. But Dino, he couldn't care less. Without missing a beat, he fired back with a response that was so sharp, it left everyone in the room stunned. Jason, who had been sitting silently, finally decided he couldn't take it anymore. He jumped in, trying to play peacemaker, but somehow his wise interruption only made things even more absurd in the absolute best way possible for the viewers. But finally, Jeff went silent. Good for him, honestly. Dino was on the verge of verbally burying him 6 feet under. Let's be real though, this has to be the best argument in MasterChef history. It had everyone absolutely dying with laughter.
I love him the most.
Oh, y'all so full of I don't like none of y'all.
Speaking of disasters, let's rewind to that time a contestant's attempt at baking a cake turned into such a catastrophe that it didn't just fail to impress the judges, it had them laughing their eyes out. Literally. It was the MasterChef birthday challenge, and with only 60 minutes to whip up a cake, chaos was guaranteed. What the judges saw next? Total confusion. Was it a cake or a crime scene? Before long, they were cracking up.
What is he doing?
He's
What
using
is
his
that?
hand.
The human spatula?
Oh my God, Charlie, I can't even, I don't want to look at this.
Oh God, Charlie, what was he even thinking? The contestants and judges were absolutely floored. This disaster seriously looked like a mess up straight out of MasterChef Junior.
God, Charlie, I can't even, I don't want to look at this.
What are you doing?
Oh my God. 10, 9, 8, 7,
Go, 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 go!
5.
It's like the guy had completely given up, but credit where it's due, he didn't panic for a second. And just like that, the challenge ended. Everyone's eyes glued to Charlie, but Charlie himself, he looked so confident, as if he just baked the best cake in MasterChef history.
3, 2, 1, and stop! Hands in the air! Now that's what I call pressure. Well done.
Chef Ramsay called everyone's cakes to the judges' table, saving Charlie's for last. With visible hesitation, he asked Charlie about his creation. Expecting a flood of excuses, what Charlie said instead, it had Chef Ramsay absolutely rolling.
A wonderful 3-layer sponge cake with sprinkles in the sponge and blood orange icing, and this is really good.
It would be good if I was blind.
Did I just hear him say wonderful? Yep, that's right. Even the judges were caught off guard. But by this point, just looking at Charlie's unwavering confidence had them bursting into laughter. Chef Ramsay shot him a suspicious glare, clearly unconvinced. But Charlie's next statement? Oh, it didn't just raise eyebrows, it left everyone in the room completely floored. Chef Ramsay hesitated, took a bite, and bam! His face went blank. Without a word, he handed a spoon to Claudia, practically begging her to try it. She took one bite, paused, and then dropped a comment about the cake being so wild, everyone was wondering if this was even real life. Yep, the cake was absolutely delicious, and Charlie? Not even a little surprised. He stood there rocking the smuggest grin, like he knew his kitchen chaos would create a masterpiece. Oh, classic Charlie. Chef Ramsay had no choice but to admit it, Charlie's cake was the most delicious of the night. And Charlie, he was standing there like a proud backbencher who just aced a test he didn't study for. But then Chef Ramsay hit him with some brutal reality, but even that couldn't wipe the laughter from the kitchen. While poor Charlie got practically roasted for the cake he made, this next contestant, her food was so good that the judges couldn't help but bust out a little happy dance. In episode 10 of season 6, Claudia decided to go back to her roots and whipped up a dish inspired by her Mexican background. The taste was so good that Christina already declared it her favorite of the night. But then came Graham.
I didn't even know that you were going to be doing this little custard with it.
I figured it would just be a perfect little addition just to make it all nice and...
Graham couldn't wait to take a bite, and as soon as he did, Claudia proudly added that it was a finger food made with MasterChef quality ingredients. What Graham said next? Well, it was clear how much he loved it.
It was like fist food. Like I just want to like double fist them. Just muy delicioso. Necesito uno más, por favor.
It was almost mouth-watering to watch, and Graham seemed at a loss for words. So, in a moment of pure surprise, he did something completely unexpected.
I'll dance with you, Chef.
Claudia, she was absolutely glowing, probably the happiest she'd ever been on her journey. This was her moment, and she was soaking it all in. But then, just when she thought it couldn't get any better, Graham did something that made everything 100 times sweeter for her. You know the drill, right? Same old routine, lifting the box at the count of 3? Wrong. Chef Ramsay pulled a classic twist, dropping something mid-count that left everyone totally stunned.
Katrina, please don't put your chin on the box, just in case it jumps up.
Okay. Oh my God.
Oh God, what did Chef Ramsay mean? A live animal? Everyone braced themselves, but when the lids lifted, the reveal was hilariously unexpected.
3, lift.
Oh, jeez!
Confused? Go back and take a closer look. It's rice. Yep, plain old rice. Don't believe me? Just look at this madness.
That's right. Rice, baby.
Yes! I am so excited. It's rice.
And here's the twist. This wasn't just plain white rice. There were at least 6 different varieties. The contestants, totally baffled and speechless.
Right there in front of you, you have so many different types of rice. Long grain rice, bamboo rice, basmati rice, brown rice, wild rice, jasmine rice, forbidden rice, and sushi rice.
Crazy, right? And oh, this wasn't even the most of it. What happened in this next mystery box? That's the really crazy. Try not to laugh. In episode 14, season 8, contestants walked in all emotional after reading letters from loved ones. But the second they lifted the mystery box, boom. Emotions out, chaos in.
1, 2, 3, lift.
Oh, you gotta love this. No containers, just apples rolling everywhere. The contestants lost it, but Graham, he set the challenge tone like a boss.
Nothing says home in this country like the humble apple.
The contestants cracking up is one thing, but this next contestant, she had the judges nearly choking with laughter during her audition because of what she did mid-prep. Absolutely unexpected.
Did you just swig out a bottle?
Don't be fooled by the cover of the book.
Yup, she didn't even bother pouring it into a glass first, just went for it. The judges were losing it, and Chef Ramsay, he couldn't resist asking Phoenix this.
Is there a little wild firecracker underneath that demure look?
Exactly. Just look at her sweet, shy, and every bit the straight-A student type you'd expect. But nope, Phoenix, she was a full-blown rowdy in disguise.
I'm kind of a wild card. I say what's on my mind. I'm straightforward.
Oh, she was such a mystery that Joe couldn't resist asking what was on her mind. He braced himself for a wild answer. And Phoenix? She absolutely delivered. The judges burst out laughing, like all three of them, absolutely losing it. But then Chef Ramsay, mid-laugh, suddenly snapped back and realized they still had to judge her audition.
Okay. Enough.
Oh, come on, bring it over. Let's play.
Finished?
Finished. I'm just gonna slip this off.
And just like that, she didn't just leave the judges in stitches, but also walked away with an apron, thanks to her knockout dish. But wait till you hear about the next lady who auditioned. She totally messed up, but instead of drama, it turned into pure comedy. You won't believe what happened. So she's whipping up a chocolate custard with a cashew nut crust, and all of this needed to be plated in just 5 minutes. Chef Ramsay at first was actually impressed.
We haven't seen many desserts win an apron.
I thought would be a good thing to show different skills.
She seemed super confident and composed, but then, just as Joe reminded her that the 5 minutes to plate had begun, it hit her. Something was missing. Oh god, how did she forget something so crucial? Thankfully, she stayed calm. Chef Ramsay told her to rush back and grab it, but her reluctant reaction had the judges cracking up. She rushed out, with her family eagerly waiting to see her walk out with an apron. But when she came back empty-handed, they were shocked. Then she dropped the funniest line, and suddenly, they were all laughing instead of feeling deflated. And just like Phoenix, this lady won hearts with her sweet nature and snagged an apron. Honestly, one of the best auditions, well, almost, because we've got an even better one coming up. Here comes Fred, already with another dessert, hoping to snag an apron. The dish was so sophisticated, Chef Ramsay and Aaron were literally stunned. Couldn't believe someone actually pulled it off.
Caramelized white chocolate and burnt miso ganache, togarashi walnut crumble, chocolate twigs, and edible flowers.
Fred went all in, talking nonstop about his intricate dessert, detailing every ingredient. By the end, Chef Ramsay and Aaron were stunned, struggling to believe it was real. Aaron finally broke the silence.
Little cubes which represent the seeds of my dreams.
That's all.
That's all.
And why MasterChef?
Fred claimed his life was like that dish, leaving the judges stunned. Visually, it was a total work of art, and Chef Ramsay and Aaron were struggling to even describe it. Chef Ramsay was completely zoned out, stuffing his face with the dessert and not even giving Aaron or Joe a chance to get a taste, totally hogging the moment. And just like that, the dish was gone in under a minute. The judges were scraping the plate for that last bit, and Chef Ramsay, still silent, did something he'd never done in 20 years of his profession as a chef.
Is that we struggle with making decisions. And I think that says it all right there. I guess Gordon likes it. There's no debate. That's a yes. Take that.
Yep, the cleaners didn't even have to bother because Chef Ramsay had already cleaned the plate, licking it spotless. Everyone waited for his reaction, but instead, he did something completely unexpected.
There's no debate. That's a yes. Take that.
Get out of there.
Wonderful job, Fred. Thank you.
Thank you.
And off goes another contestant from the MasterChef kitchen, but they were way more entertaining than their actual cooking skills. Remember those cowboys? No? Well, wait till you hear this sound. And it wasn't just one cowboy, oh no. There were a bunch of them, all in the same day. They just kept coming, and honestly, they were a blast to watch.
Same luck.
But don't give up hope just yet. There were some who passed with flying colors. Can you guess who? Oh, I know you were all rooting for this guy right here. But hold up, this next guy? Here comes Mike, the ultimate cowboy of cowboys. A real macho man, and he wasn't just there to cook, he came to the MasterChef kitchen to pay tribute to his sister and make his mark. But when he entered, his plan to get the judges' reaction was a MasterChef first.
You are kidding me.
Praying that he's not cooking that thing.
Yep, you heard that right, a horse. The judges were so confused, like, wait, is a horse cooking for us now? But nope, here comes the man, the myth, riding in like a cowboy. Now, that is what we call an entrance. Mike strolled in casually, horse in tow, and parked it like it was just another car. Then, he got to cooking like it was no big deal. Everything was going smoothly, until, of course, the horse decided to take a moment for itself. Perfect timing, right? The horse definitely knew how to steal the spotlight. And as for the judges, they were floored, laughing their guts out.
Behave, Mickey. I totally lost my train of thought.
Okay.
Chef Ramsay and Joe? Oh, they couldn't keep it together the second these contestants walked in.
Bewitch the judges. judges with desire.
Joe, one of your ex-girlfriends?
He looks like casting for The Godfather.
What is that?
But their appearance? Yeah, it didn't quite match their personalities and backgrounds. Because when the judges heard them speak, it was like they were torn between losing their minds and trying to hold back laughter.
I'm a witch. Hi. These are the guys. Air, fire, water, earth, goddess, now your magic birth.
Myself.
Me too.
But honestly, you can't ignore what came next. This guy came strolling in from the dark, but then the judges noticed something completely absurd.
What is that?
It's a monkey.
I'm cooking asparagus on a bed of linguine. We made an angel hair pasta.
Look at that face. Even the judges couldn't resist. And they really didn't. Wait for what Chef Ramsay said next.
I'm a yes. Wow. To the monkey.
But anyway, moving on to these contestants who took revenge for all those before them. Why? Because the food they served? Well, let's just say, keep your plates away before you watch. First came this one lady who was so confident in her dish that she couldn't handle anyone, even Chef Ramsay mispronouncing it. She was in a league of her own. Chef Ramsay didn't even bother tasting it, but then Brave Joe stepped up to try it, and let's just say, he was totally confused in the funniest way possible.
So where are the frog's legs?
In the egg fouillon.
He literally spat it out so fast. But this lady, bless her heart, she still had hope. And Chef Ramsay? Oh, he was in a playful mood. Yeah, the bad dishes just kept coming, one disappointment after another. And it didn't stop there, because the next person coming? Ryan Uman. This guy. Oh my god, he came in with enough confidence to win the whole competition. And how did his culinary journey start? Well, the most absurd way possible. Yes, Ryan, we've seen you in the competition and your so-called elevation of flavor, but what you didn't know about Ryan? Well, that's what Chef Ramsay asked him. Ryan's audition was something else. It had the judges scratching their heads, but what happened next? Oh, it made us double check if we were even watching the right show. And if you thought that was wild, wait for this. Every contestant seemed like a bigger joker than the last, but these ladies, oh, they were on another planet. You won't believe their stories. Yes, you heard that right. She does it to understand why they do what they do. Imagine if Batman took a cooking class. But trust me, even that can't prepare you for what's next.
Well, hello, beautiful. This is called the hip twist.
However, these contestants definitely made their time in the kitchen worth every moment, bringing in plenty of laughs along the way. But guess who else did the same? Leslie from season 5. So, in this episode, the judges had to cook with an ingredient basket curated by the one and only Joe. And no surprise here, it was filled with wines. All kind, while everyone else was scrambling to figure out how to whip up their best dishes with it, Leslie, oh, he just wanted to take the heat off himself. The guy may have been 50, but the dishes he whipped up, absolute chef's kiss. Unlike the next contestant, who managed to ruin a renowned dish in the most unimaginable way.
I have a smoked shrimp.
It looks like a skid mark. I mean, honestly.
I like that, though.
Moving on to another contestant, and trust me, this one was worth waiting for. So this lady here decided to make cakes for each of the judges. And when I say each, I mean cakes literally dedicated to each of them in the most unique way possible. When the judges saw that, well, they couldn't hold themselves. A granddad? Yep, they nailed it. Even Joe couldn't keep it together. But wait for what this lady said next.
Is Joe smiling or not?
I actually found one picture on the internet of you smiling.
Bloody.
The judges were blown away by the uniqueness of the idea and, of course, how hilarious it was. They could hardly breathe from laughing so much, but what happened next? Oh, they completely lost it.
I need a bigger base for Graham. Pick
Come
me
eat
up.
some cake!
But wait, don't go just yet. You're gonna love this next contestant. He was a real-life clown, I tell you. Let's move on to Craig. Hesitation? Nah, it wasn't in his dictionary. This guy was straight up wild.
That's a nice set of eggplants, no? I want that apron like a fat kid wants cake.
When he walked into the kitchen, he didn't even need to say 2 full sentences to get the judges to break into their biggest smiles. After just 4 minutes of prepping his dish, Joe asked him if he was done, and what he did next. Oh, it was a first in the MasterChef kitchen.
No, just a little melt.
Don't.
Chef Ramsay and Graham, they couldn't stop laughing. But Joe, the dude was almost in tears.
God. Stop. In the name of all that's good and holy in Italian food, stop.
But there's nothing that can beat this next moment right here. The red team was barely crawling across the finish line. Meanwhile, the blue team, they were flying, sending out their last orders at lightning speed. When the results came in, both teams were neck and neck, but the final outcome?
Blue team.
Tensions were through the roof on the red team, and there was one clear culprit, Leslie. The entire team was now facing a dreaded pressure test. But then, something surprising happened. Leslie finally snapped back to reality, took responsibility for the mess, and what he said next? Well, let's just say it was a moment of rare humility.
Sorry, I didn't turn out to be what you guys wanted. I'm not perfect, okay? This is a learning curve for me.
Oh, she was not having it. While the rest of the team kept quiet, knowing how explosive Leslie could be, she didn't hold back and let him have it, straight up calling him out. But God, she really lifted the veil on Leslie's true colors.
Have no communication, skills at all.
So can I say something, or you just gonna jump in every time because you're an 18-year-old and that's what you do?
But then Leslie just pushed all the buttons. He not only messed up the team even more, but started throwing personal remarks her way, making it way more intense than it needed to be. It was so uncalled for, but the real jaw-dropper came when Leslie finally spoke. What he said next? It left everyone speechless.
Respect me all you want, okay? Because that's what teenagers do.
And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it did. The tension hit a breaking point, and the other team members had to step in before things completely spiraled.
So grow up and grow some balls.
Leslie, you're 56. She's 18.
It was like a full-on showdown, and then, oh God, Leslie went there. He sounded more like a teenager having a tantrum than a grown man leading a team. It was cringeworthy.
It's because you mispronounced my name. And
Well, I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't know how else to put sorry. S-O-R-R-Y, that's sorry.
Yeah, that was Definity, not an apology. The team didn't hold back and called him out for being super condescending. And his reaction? Oh, it was anything but an apology. Instead of owning up, he doubled down.
Condescending because I'm tired of getting beat up by everybody here. And I'm not gonna stand here and be abused.
Classic Leslie move. But honestly, at this point, no one had respect for him. If he wanted it, he sure as heck hadn't earned it. Instead of trying to act mature and calm down though, Leslie pulled an insane move that left everyone shook.
Please, may I thank you. That's how I was brought up. Not crying and running his... Let him on.
Yep, Leslie just walked out like it was no big deal, and guess what? No one even tried to stop him. No one wanted that negativity sticking around. Moving on, when it came time for the pressure test, Chef Ramsay decided to have a little chat with the team first. Naturally, he started with the captain.
Where did it go wrong?
Pretty much me becoming captain. I learned a very valuable lesson.
Oh, that was peak diplomatic nonsense. Leslie seriously thought his little lesson wasn't going to affect the fate of 9 other people? At least one of them was about to get eliminated, and Joe wasn't having it. He called Leslie out, but instead of backing down, Leslie just made it worse, throwing gasoline on an already blazing fire.
I'm not perfect. I don't know what else you want from me.
Chef Ramsay didn't waste a second, cutting straight to the chase as usual. Despite the entire team failing, not everyone was heading to the pressure test. Only the bottom 3. The other 6 were safe, but who would decide who made the cut? Oh, you already know. Leslie.
With the team captain, captains, leaders have to make big and very serious decisions. Which 3 members of...
Leslie's face went from 0 to villain in a split second. It was like you could almost see the evil horn sprouting out. He wasn't about to show any mercy, that's for sure.
They threw me under the bus, so I figured now it's my turn to return the favor.
Leslie's first pick, predictable, he went straight for Christine, the obvious threat. But it didn't stop there. The next name he dropped, it was a bombshell that left everyone stunned. And trust me, you'll be picking your jaw up off the floor.
Daniel, because I was on his team and I killed myself for him, no matter what. Wow. And he did nothing for me except complain about me.
Hold up. Daniel was the unsung hero here, pulling the team back from utter chaos and ensuring at least one dish made it to the table. But just when you thought it couldn't get crazier, Leslie dropped a name that sent everyone reeling. Get ready, you're about to despise him even more.
And, Iran.
Her name is Iran.
Wow.
Why Iran?
She and I don't seem to see eye to eye, and I have the choice. And I can.
Seriously, what the hell? She nailed it when she called Leslie out, saying if he was a real man, he'd pick himself after all. Didn't Leslie just say he felt the most responsible for the loss? Talk about hypocrisy. The air was thick with tension as Chef Ramsay finally stepped up, his patience clearly running out. With a smirk, he dropped a twist that no one expected, turning Leslie's world upside down. It was a game changer, and you could feel the entire room gasp. The drama was only just beginning.
Fortunately for them, it's not your decision.
It was the moment of truth, and the tension was thick. As Joe dropped the bombshell, Leslie's expression turned from smug confidence to total disbelief. The judges would decide who faced the pressure test, and Leslie. His confidence shattered, and you could practically feel the weight of defeat.
Can't get any worse. First, they nailed me to a cross on a beach. Now they're gonna burn me at it.
Get ready to bring it 100%. And if you're not, you should probably just leave your apron and check yourself out right now, because this is getting frustrating. Boring. It's not the spirit of what we came here to do.
The kitchen was already drowning in mediocrity, hope circling the drain, and then came Tony, the culinary train wreck nobody ordered but totally deserved.
It's a wok fried chicken with some stir-fried broccoli.
This was a Chinese food challenge, MasterChef level authenticity required. Tony, however, delivered something so un-Chinese, it felt like a dare, because who else serves cultural confusion on a plate?
I don't know, it doesn't look like a Chinese dish to me. It's like kid food.
Yikes, that plate was a visual crime scene. Tony's face screamed, "Even I wouldn't eat this?" And Joe's reaction after one bite, pure confirmation that disaster doesn't even need seasoning.
It tastes like chicken nuggets soaked in orange juice.
Embarrassing? Sure, but David took it up a notch. His overly ambitious spicy orange chicken with rice looked like chaos on a plate. And Joe's next question. Let's just say confidence was about to meet its doom.
David, is that how you wanted the plate to come out?
I'm not disappointed with the way it looks.
Joe's unimpressed glare said it all, but David clung to his delusions of grandeur, a bold, tragic choice. Little did he know, John was about to bulldoze his ego into a fine powder.
I'm not impressed visually. I think it looks almost kind of cartoonish.
The night was a disaster parade, and Joe's patience was on life support. When Sheetal nervously served her pan-fried chicken and bok choy, she knew sweat wouldn't save her from his wrathful glare.
Colors is really kind of a little bit unappealing. And then you go, uh-oh. Knock, knock, nobody's home.
The patty was hollow, much like the cook's talent. The judge's lack of surprise was almost impressive, but the real jaw-dropper, the culinary catastrophe that followed it.
Basically an orange chicken with the snap peas with the orange infused rice.
The judges had sky-high hopes for this dish. She plated it with 20 minutes left. That's either brilliance or pure chaos. Chef Ramsay, of course, leaned heavily toward chaos, and honestly, same.
Food dies as it sits in the window, clearly. And that had better taste phenomenal to put it up with 20 minutes to go.
If I were Chef Ramsay, I'd save my bets. Nothing about that chicken or rice garnish even hinted at edible. Looked like a rushed mess. But then Joe tasted it and oh, it plummeted.
This is the problem with this whole round.
Joe gave everyone one last warning.
Get ready to bring it 100%. And if you're not, you should probably just leave your apron and check yourself out right now, because this is getting frustrating.
Moving on to Andrea Galen, a passionate home cook who was on track to becoming one of the youngest chefs in MasterChef history to win the trophy. But what happened in this challenge? It flipped her journey completely upside down.
You've got to be down here. 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop. I am so sorry. Rules are rules.
Andrea was hanging on, but her station was pure chaos. Chef Ramsay had to step in, reminding everyone of the crucial point of the challenge. Mess it up? No second chances. This was it. Game over.
And remember, your sausage in a bun must be down here on the front row before your time is up.
Chef Ramsay's rules echoed in the air, but as time slipped away, the judges glanced at Andrea's station. What they saw? Utter disbelief.
What's Andrea doing?
She's running out of time. Andrea, move!
Andrea stood there, unfazed by the madness around her. While the others rushed to the front, she seemed in her own world, completely blocking out the chaos, as if she was immune to the pressure.
7, 6. Andrea, you've got to be down here!
What was she even doing? With just seconds left, Andrea finally snapped back into reality, but by then, it was way too late. And I mean, way too late.
Oh, I did not even...
4, 3, 2, 1, and stop!
Andrea dashed to the table, nearly tripping in her rush. But the question everyone had, did she nail it? Well, let's just say the outcome was nowhere near what anyone expected. The reality? A total shock.
She didn't make it.
She didn't make it.
Andrea sprinted to the table just as the clock hit 0, too late to save herself. The room went quiet, and she broke into tears. But when she gave her excuse, it left everyone wondering if she was genuinely confused or just trying to cheat her way out.
I completely forgot to walk to the front. I mean, at this point, I don't know what's gonna happen next.
The judges shared a quick glance before diving into tasting the dishes, not wanting to rush any judgments. Meanwhile, Andrea stood there, looking overly confident. Finally, Chef Ramsay turned to her and asked the dreaded question about her dish.
This is a bratwurst sausage with a toasted pretzel bun and a tomato curry sauce.
The dish looked good, really good. Chef Ramsay was impressed, and just as he went in for a bite, anticipation built. But what he found absolutely extraordinary.
Here, sausage is still glistening. That is beautiful.
Maybe those extra seconds Andrea took really paid off, because you won't believe what Chef Ramsay said next. After taking a bite, he paused, looked at her, and, well, let's just say it left everyone in the room holding their breath.
The seasoning is on point. The texture and the ground, the size of the way you ground that meat.
And he didn't stop there. He handed a bite to the other contestants, and they loved it so much that Chef Ramsay did something he doesn't do often. And let's just say that left everyone standing there completely speechless.
What do you think?
Delicious.
Very good. That's it. Great recipe. I think that's going to be one in my book.
But here's the thing, what about her coming late to the front table? Isn't that technically cheating? Well, don't worry. It didn't go unnoticed, especially by Christina.
Guys, there's still one more thing we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Estrella.
The contestants were all buzzing, trying to figure out what could have possibly gone through Andrea's head to make such a huge mistake. Was it deliberate, a clever plan, or just an honest mistake? But Andrea, she stuck to her story, and it only made it harder to believe her.
We forgot that we had to run it up here.
Everybody needs to be down on that front bench.
Chef Ramsay, on the other hand, he was so impressed by Andrea that he actually decided to pitch for her to Christina. Yep, he was all in, hyping her up like she was the next big thing in the kitchen. The others, not so sure.
Hear me out. It wasn't as if she was throwing more stuff into the basket. It's just she froze.
Guys, there's rules.
Exactly. It was a total breach of the rules, and who knows if it wasn't deliberate. That would definitely be unfair to the other contestants, right? But Chef Ramsay, he made an incredibly solid point. So, did it convince Christina and the other judges? Let's find out.
Listen, she had the best sausage of the night, okay?
Rules are rules, guys.
Well, rules are rules after all. Keeping that in mind, the judges wrapped up their discussion and got ready to deliver the saddest news of the entire season. Everyone held their breath, wondering what was about to go down.
Andrea, we were forced to watch the last 10 seconds and sadly did not adhere to that rule.
That was the moment Andrea knew her fate for the night was sealed. Her face turned red with guilt and disappointment, and what Chef Ramsay said next, it shattered her completely.
One of the most inspirational amateur chefs we've ever had in this competition, sadly, is going home.
Watching Andrea cry was tough, but it was a hard lesson. Never bend the rules, no matter the circumstances. Chef Ramsay, still disappointed, gave her full disclosure, knowing he had no choice.
I am so sorry. Rules are rules, and we have to abide by them on a daily basis.
And just like that, Andrea's one bad decision cost her everything. Her dream shattered in an instant. It was a harsh reminder that in the kitchen, every choice matters.
That means, my darling, you have to leave the competition. I'm so sorry.
I messed up.
Well, at least she tried, right? But what about a dish that seemed like it was purposely sabotaged by the contestants themselves?
We gotta get this salsa made. What sauce? The salsa. Oh.
This is it. And what is that? I mean, seriously, I've seen more appetizing diapers.
In episode 14 of MasterChef Season 8, Yachichia and Ebony were teamed up for the pressure test. But did it all go as planned?
Mine, but Yashika and I both have extra aggressive sister behavior. Lord help me.
Yachichia and Ebony entered the pressure test like forces of nature, all big personalities and determination, ready to either conquer or crash and burn. Spoiler alert, the wind wasn't exactly blowing in their favor this time around.
Hurry up, dice it small. Quick, 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 quick.
The challenge seemed simple. Recreate a Mexican platter with every item just right. Easy, right? Not when you're in the hot seat under the intense MasterChef spotlight.
Big platter of Mexican food.
And what do you know? As the challenge kicked off, both the contestants dove into the task with optimism. At first, they seemed unstoppable, cheering each other on and keeping the teamwork strong. But then, the timing slipped, communication faltered, and chaos slowly crept into the kitchen, turning their confidence into panic.
They're very small tacos, smaller than that.
I don't think it's gonna be enough.
Not too big.
I don't think Ebony's very good at taking direction.
Ebony wasn't having any of it, too stubborn to take direction, and Yachichia was just as headstrong. So, teamwork? Yeah, it was non-existent. The outcome? Let's just say it didn't exactly shine.
Careful!
That could be a disaster.
As the clock ticked down and the pressure kept building, the cracks started to show. The tension was palpable, and it was clear things weren't going as smoothly as they hoped.
Grandma,
You're gonna have to make that. I'm
got
about
it.
to try to do
I'm
this.
just going down the checklist. Don't get frustrated.
Their friendly banter quickly soured. The team dynamic shattered with neither of them on the same page. As the clock ticked down, they completely stopped listening to each other, scrambling and clueless. And naturally, things just spiraled from there.
This salsa name.
What sauce?
The salsa.
Oh.
This is it.
Yakesia and Ebony were arguing more than cooking. They were not on the same page, and it looked like they won't be able to finish the task. After all that chaos, presenting their platter was a disaster. Honestly, they would have been better off serving nothing. What they ended up putting on that platter, you won't believe your eyes.
We got the worst platter. I could throw this on the floor right now, walk up there barehanded, and be content. It's better than serving them dog crap.
Chef Ramsay was completely thrown off. He just stood there, staring in disbelief. After a moment of silence, he didn't need to say a word. His expression said it all about how disastrously it had turned out.
Okay, truthfully. What a mess.
Chef Ramsay was left completely baffled, wondering how everything had spiraled so quickly. These two were supposed to be the strongest in the kitchen, but when they tried to explain, he couldn't believe the excuses they were making.
Honestly, this plate really looked like this because when it came down to the last 5 minutes, I had to do half the tray by myself.
Absolutely not.
And then, in the middle of the chaos, they just started arguing. The blame game went into full swing, with each one pointing fingers over a dish that, well, shouldn't have even been served. You've got to see it to believe it.
I did cook the chicken and the patty choux. I started it for her.
No, I started the patty choux. I started it and we tagged it. It was back and forth.
Chef Ramsay was seriously disappointed, watching both of them struggle to set their egos aside and help each other across the finish line. The result?
And this. Look at that. I don't know what to say.
It wasn't pretty at all. That dish was beyond repair. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, what didn't happen next only made everything spiral even further downhill.
And what is this?
No chips and salsa.
Is it a magic trick? Shake the bag upside down. I'm sure it's gonna be a white rabbit.
Don't cringe just yet, this wasn't even the start. Chef Ramsay, looking like he might faint, spotted something so grueling it might just turn your stomach too.
What is that? I mean, seriously, I've seen more appetizing diapers.
I'm sure.
The judges were speechless, faces in their palms, but they pushed through. The moment of truth was fast approaching as Chef Ramsay braced himself for that first bite. And trust me, he needed to prepare for what was coming.
Say a prayer before I tuck into the because I have to taste this now.
Describing the flavors as mismatched didn't even begin to cover it. What Chef Ramsay said next, it crossed into downright disgusting territory, leaving everyone in shock.
Thank you for my sick bag. Disgusting.
Anyway, here comes another contestant who had a nerve-wracking start in the auditions. But it was the mystery box challenge that really set things off course.
Oh, sorry. There's no way on earth I can swallow that. Disgusting.
Dan's journey kicked off strong, smashing auditions and ready to impress. But when Courtney, fresh off a win, chose the main ingredient for a brutal elimination challenge, things got intense. The stakes were higher than ever, and Dan's game was about to be put to the ultimate test.
A stunning meatloaf.
And let's be real, if you've ever had a meatloaf that's just off, you get the pressure. It's one of those deceptively tricky dishes where perfection is hard to nail and even harder to impress with.
Dan Wu, I think he's going in an Asian direction. Maybe do a hoisin glaze, some kind of oyster sauce.
I like that.
I'm excited to try that one.
Dan stepped into the challenge with swagger, confident as ever. Throwing some snark to anyone who thought he was a snob, he was determined to prove them all dead wrong.
I don't need Courtney to save me. I know I'm good enough to get up on that balcony all on my own.
Whoa, that's some confidence, but he went on about it.
Snobbery to me just means I have had better, and I expect better, and I will make better.
Easy there, buddy. Save the predictions for the judges. Dan served his meatloaf with kimchi, which was a strong and creative choice, or well, that's what he and the judges thought initially. When the judges finally tasted Dan's dish, the creativity didn't quite hit the mark. Chef Ramsay took a bite, paused, and then struggled to find words. Whatever he just tasted, let's just say it wasn't exactly a masterpiece.
That is absolutely disgusting.
Ouch, that had to sting, especially after all that confidence. Chef Ramsay didn't pull any punches. He ripped into every part of the dish, from the meat to the sauce, calling each ingredient a disaster in its own right. It was a brutal breakdown, turning Dan's moment of glory into a full-on roast.
The blend is way too wet. Not a big fan. of raw Brussels sprouts.
It was everything and the main ingredients just completely off. Chef Ramsay didn't hold back for a second, making it crystal clear just how disgusting he found it. He wasn't sparing any feelings.
That is one of the worst meatloaves I've ever eaten.
Honestly, it was a tough blow for Dan, who had poured his heart and soul into the dish.
Chef Ramsay says your food is disgusting. It's the worst thing you can hear.
Safe to say Chef Ramsay's remarks were a hell of a blow.
It's absolutely devastating.
The bottom is just the meringue, and then I have gingerbread, crumb, blueberry coulis, and then I have a little lemon juice with dry ice in the top to give a little bit of that scent.
You did the best service in honoring Chef Grant because you took what he was doing conceptually in the demonstration, but you put your own twist to it.
The moment he proved he was a force to be reckoned with came in episode 16, a challenge that pushed contestants to their creative limits. With Grant Achatz as guest judge, they had 1 hour to create a dish with jaw-dropping plating without using an actual plate.
I think Nick is going to come up with the most creative ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I am expecting something magical from that kid.
Whoa, now that's the level of confidence we all dream about. But let's face it, the pressure on Nick absolutely crushing. Not just from Chef Ramsay's high hopes, but because Nick was trembling in his chef whites.
Grant is everything I aspire to be and do someday, so I have to throw it all on the line here.
Then, boom, Chef Ramsay strolled over to Nick's station with Grant in tow. The introduction? Pure fireworks in Nick's heart. A moment he'd never forget.
22, again, one of our youngest, but food is in his blood. There's no two ways about that, right?
I dream about food all day, and
Nick lit up like a kid on Christmas morning, eagerly sharing his passion for food. Grant, clearly intrigued, couldn't help but admire Nick's determination.
Can't go to bed at night until I write down all the ideas I have, so I just loved it enough to want to pursue it for life.
For this challenge, Nick chose to make a lemon meringue pie, his very first dessert. But this wasn't just any pie. He added a jaw-dropping twist that screamed, "Showstopper!"
I'm gonna leave it in the electric mixer and just bring that whole thing up to the table.
I like the idea of bringing...
Bingo, Chef Ramsay and Grant were all in, laughing and hyping him up.
Love the quirkiness, adventurous, dangerous, that's what we want.
Definitely.
Yes?
I don't know if it's possible, but I'm gonna give it my best shot.
But then, in a flash, time was nearly up. While the others were plating their creations, Nick was knee-deep in his ambitious masterpiece, scrambling to bring it all together.
I'm trying to do so many things at once. I'm toasting that meringue, and I'm dashing all sorts of things onto the plate, and
the concept was brilliant, but none of it mattered if he didn't have something to present when the timer hit 0. With 30 seconds left, Nick's only focus was survival and that coveted balcony spot.
This was definitely a risk. I'm just crossing my fingers and praying it's going to.
Nick, ever the fighter, pulled it off in the nick of time. The contestants were stunned as he scraped the last bit out of the mixer, but when he presented it, total showstopper, everyone was floored.
The bottom is just the meringue, and then I have gingerbread, crumb, blueberry coulis, and then I have a little lemon juice with dry ice in the top to give a little bit of that scent.
It was stunning. A true masterpiece. Honestly, at that point, it didn't even matter how it tasted. But Grant, he noticed something everyone else missed.
You have something that is somewhat common, presented in a very unconventional way. So that contrast is actually really beneficial.
When the judges finally tasted it, they had to take a beat to let those flavors sink in. And then Grant broke the silence.
Good balance. Sugar, tart, and the meringue is really light and fluffy. Really nice textures. Right?
Yeah, it's good.
Thank you, Chef.
1 chef down, 3 to go. While Grant's words were spot on, the MasterChef judges were even more impressed. Nick had understood the challenge better than anyone and added his own brilliant twist.
You did the best service in honoring Chef Grant because you took what he was doing conceptually in the demonstration, but you put your own twist to it.